The potential to generate as much electricity as Nigerians can buy exists. The resources to do so also, in my view, exist. Getting the amount of electricity required, in my view, is only a question of time. I think I'm being proved right in this connection every day.
The vision of NSP is to be one of the best managed companies in the power sector.
So what that means is that we will do everything, we will invest the capital, we will make the right decisions towards ensuring that Nigerians continue to get electricity reliably and efficiently.
Without power in this country, there's no development. And if there's no development, what is the future of our children? We have 3 hydro plants in Nigeria. Well, namely the Shiroro hydro plant, which we manage. We also have the Kainji and the Jeba hydro plants. The Shiroro hydro plant has 600 megawatts today. When we came on board, it had only 450 megawatts, and we had 5 years to actually meet what you call our agreement with BP, which means we must recover the additional 150 within 5 years. We recover the 150 megawatts within a space of 30 months. That's half the time that we were required to.
Our installed capacity is 600 megawatts, comprising of 4 units, and each unit is 150 megawatts.
The units basically are supplied water from a reservoir, which is quite big. It covers 300 square kilometers when it's at full capacity and holds up to 9 billion cubic meters of water.
At present, Shiroro produces 8% of the energy in the Nigerian national grid. Also, Shiroro has a unique feature of being able to black start the grid in the event of a system collapse. Also, Shiroro can operate as an island and feed the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, under system collapse conditions. By that, Shiroro starts up its units within 10-15 minutes of a collapse and is able to generate power into the grid for Abuja to use. We actually have 2 lines from here to Abuja at 330 kV level, through which this emergency power is supplied to the FCT.
North-South Power penetrated Nigeria's energy industry's hydroelectric sector in 2012. 5 years later, concessionaire of the 600 megawatts capacity Shiroro Hydroelectric Power Station in Niger, Nigeria's north, takes stock of their journey. One fraught with staggering challenges, but sustained by a continued demonstrated commitment to light up Nigeria.
When we came on board, one of the major problems we encountered, of course, we had to fix the Unit 1. Unit 1 had a generator problem, and the generator got burnt, and we were able to fix that. Of course, after fixing that, that brought the capacity up to 1 600 megawatts. But then we encountered another problem.
We had a problem at the dam crest. You know, you have two maintenance gates, then you have the power intake gate. The maintenance gate is used to wedge water off when you have maintenance activities in the plant. Now, some of the concrete structure in that maintenance gate slot got sheared off in 2010. It was a Herculean task and could not be handled under PHCN. But when North-South Power took over, they brought consultants, Trek from the US, to study the problem, and they profiled the solution.
The cavity of this intake gate, if you imagine, is 6 meters by 7 meters wide. We brought in experts and were able to deploy this 110-ton steel bulkhead 60, 70 meters below this water surface, put it there, construct it to seal the intake gate, and then we're able to work on the civil works that had collapsed. It was never reported to us, nor did we have any idea of it.
This was actually a big engineering feat. This damage occurred way back in 2010, and essentially the implication was that Unit 4 would eventually be shut down permanently.
And we're glad to say that because we made that sacrifice and because we brought in the experts and used our ingenuity, that turbine is back to the grid.
We also, in this period, managed to overhaul 2 units, Units 1 and Unit 3. We did not need to overhaul Unit 2 because it had been overhauled in 2012 and still has a lot of life to go before the next overhaul.
Viable, no doubt, despite the complications that trail investing in Nigeria's power sector, the 5-year-old power generating company has made investments worth over $10 million. This is a revolutionary twist for Nigeria's hydroelectric power sector, where daily power generation, according to Nigeria's Power Minister Babatunde Fashola, has risen from 15% in 2015 to 26% in 2017.
Now, why Nigerian power sector? Well, it's supposed to be a very viable sector. An investor wants to invest in a viable project. But we knew that we were going to have challenges. And when we saw that, we did a study and said, look, let us start with the hydropower, in the hydropower space.
Entering the industry, it was on the basis of certain rules of engagement between all the players. Those who generate power, those who distribute power, those who will power to the distributors. In other words, that would be TCN. I think there was an overestimate of the kind of income that the industry is capable of generating. As a result of this, the total amount of intake that was expected was never met. Not much more than about 40% of the intake expected. In other words, somebody must have looked at the total amount of power being generated, look at the price per unit of power, and then said, okay, X income can be derived from 4,000 megawatts of electricity. It turned out to be much more complex than that.
When you look at how the power sector has evolved, even from 2005, when the Electric Power Sector Reform Act was passed, to quite recently when the Power Sector Recovery Program was put in place by the government, World Bank and ADB. For us, it's, we take it as one of the challenges in a sector that is being developed, that is evolving, will continue to evolve, but that is critical to the Nigerian economy.
Power sector reforms in Nigeria have over the years covered costs, funding, and other regulations. For the NSP, the most remarkable reform so far has been the facilitation of an open market through the Eligible Customer Protocol. This allows power generators to sell directly to end users who can pay the providers, thereby encouraging investors' interests.
We're happy with what the government has done with the Power Sector Recovery Program. We're happy with the milestones they've been able to achieve and the milestones being pursued.
The federal government has opened up the market by allowing generating companies to sell electricity directly to end users through what is called eligible customer protocol. I think with those measures of willing customer, willing buyer, and also the commitment shown by FGN in guaranteeing payments to GENCOs, will certainly mean that investors will be interested in investing in generation.
Recently, as you know, government, after discussions and a set of plans with the World Bank, has set up what they did basically is to segment the problem and to try to sort it out one by one. They realized rightly that to get the electricity industry going, you have to have the generation first, you have to have the power. If you don't have the power, then you can't do anything at all. And they put up a facility that now augments the actual payment of the invoices that generating companies raise. A substantial sum of money in the excess of 700 billion naira, which I think is supposed to support generation for at least the next 2 years from January this year. That has made life a little easier for generating companies.
Our position is that program needs to be fully followed through, and we believe if it's done, you'll see a significant impact on the power sector. I'm already seeing that because on the generation side, since we've gotten the assurance facility, which is improved the payments of our invoices, for example, people, not just us, but other generation companies are making the necessary investments towards ramping up capacity and expanding their power plants.
You can see the value that government has brought to the table by announcing the preferred customer relationship. I think we're working at that. We're looking at how people will also benefit from our best practices to produce the best, cheapest power possible at any given time. So when you talk of household, choice company to deal with, we are going to become one of the best.
From the perspective of the Nigerian customer, there's a lot of frustration that in spite of privatization, in spite of additional capacity in the grid, it's not really reflected in their homes. And as an industry player, whether in the downstream sector, what I mean by downstream, the distribution end of the value chain or the generation end, you cannot feel comfortable.
North-South Power aims to be the most successful power generating company in Nigeria. For this to happen, they would have to generate more power through hydro and solar, and ultimately provide constant and affordable power to consumers. The starting point is optimizing the 27-year-old Shiroro power station from its current 600 megawatts up to about 1,000 megawatts. NSP would also have to acquire financing through a bond which it plans to issue in 2018.
How do we optimize the existing Shiroro hydro power plants? We're looking at how to increase the rating of each turbine from 150 megawatts to about 180 megawatts, thereby adding a total of 120 megawatts to the grid. That would be fantastic for Nigeria. So as a company, we continue to challenge ourselves on what can we do to optimize the existing plant, to expand our operational base.
We're trying to raise a 10 to 15 year bond a 10 to 20 billion naira bond from the Nigerian market. It is interesting that 3-4 years in this market, in this turbulent market, we are even attempting to do that. And you know what a bond is? A bond means that you have managed a company to a point where investors can come in and say, we want to guarantee your performance.
The purpose of the bond is to raise long-term financing for the purpose of implementing this ambitious capital expenditure on the one hand, and restructuring existing debt so that it becomes more comfortable on the other.
In raising the bond, the people of the country will benefit most. In a few more years, we'll be able to add more powers to the sector. But the sector itself is going to benefit from this development because this is a debut bond being raised for the sector. And when that happens, I can assure you it will also build confidence of the local investors to know that the sector is coming of age, the sector will come of age, and it's going to encourage development in other sectors we have not thought of at this point.
Although we have improved our availability and the performance of the plant, we have to remember that this plant is 27 years old now or so. So this will help us, first of all, to address the remaining technical issues. I mentioned that each unit is 150 megawatts. These units, through refinancing, can actually be operated to 180 megawatts.
After reviewing our capital structure, we reviewed the bank's markets. We realized one, the banks were no more willing or could no more afford to continue to fund the infrastructure space on the power sector. Number two, we noted that we required long-term capital and not short-term 5-year, 7-year money. And number three, we did not want to take dollar loans because we saw the impact it had when there was a devaluation in the Nigerian currency. So we looked at our capital structure and we looked, how can we strengthen our capital structure? How can we prepare for us to be able to seize emerging opportunities that will come in the power sector? I decided to take this bond initiative. It's been very good for us. We've completed our non-deal roadshows. We met with certain number of PFAs. We're happy with the feedback they gave us.
The power plant business is as well a very expensive business in terms of infrastructure. You need to retrofit the plant to bring it up to date with the standards in the 21st century. And that will take a lot of money. You have to, in some cases, retrofit the machines, control equipment, communication, energy management systems, and so on. All this costs a lot of money.
At present, Shiroro is the best managed power station nationwide. Shiroro has the lowest production cost. Shiroro has a very friendly community. So whoever is thinking of investing in Shiroro is taking the right decision.
We've been rated by international organizations to see how we manage the company, and they rated us so high above the sector. InfraCredit came around and wanted to see what we're doing. We gave them the opportunity to look at our books. Our books are open, and when they saw it, they picked us as the first, to be supported, and we're working with them to see how we can raise the bond. If we're lucky enough, if things go well, we should go to the market very soon.
We look at the best people we can for the best jobs. We also consider, however, that there is a need to work and to be in the best of terms with the communities that host these facilities. We have a policy of recruiting 30% at the entry level only. engineers, etc., that we recruit. When I say entry level, that means the level of graduate. As far as possible, if we find candidates that are competent within the communities, we reserve up to 30% for such candidates.
You know, transiting from a public sector to a private sector, changing the management of an organization of that nature is a serious business. And I think we'll be able to achieve it by bringing in experts. When we started off, we brought in change management team to change the mindset of the company, to tell them what we want to do. And it has added a lot of value in us achieving the quality of manpower we need.
Water for the Shiroro Power Station has been sourced from the Kaduna River since 1990. The Shiroro community in Nigeria's Niger State live along the river's floodplains. Upon acquiring concessionaire status, NSP has demonstrated commitment to the community through persistent provision of health care, education, and other empowerment programs. Facilities at the NSP school have also been upgraded this past year. And the NSP's next plan is to ensure that the Shiroro community receives power, the same it offers the rest of the country through the Kaduna River.
We make sure that at all times we do the right things to empower the communities around us.
We recognize it every day and every year in the budget, but above all else, we have a program to provide power to these communities. Power is what we generate. That is what we derive from this society. And power, therefore, will be the main thing that we want to make available.
I cherish everything that we are doing here, and the management is also trying for us. At any time we call on them, they answer us.
People from outside, they decide to bring their children. They are bringing their children. You can see on the field, we have many of them from Gwada, from the villages nearby. And they testify that they bring their children because they have seen the standard of the school.
What NSP is doing is to give the first medical attention to all the staff, their families, the community, and not only the community. We have police, we have army, we have CDS, civil defense, we have our local security. We all take care of them, and free.
Over the last 4 years, we have generated 8.86 gigawatt hour of energy, which is 94% of the designed energy expected from that facility. So in a way, you will see that generating 94% of the expected energy will take a lot of investment, maintenance, motivation for the staff, and 94% is an excellent performance. In the year 2016, we generated the highest energy since the station started operation.
And this was a record for Shiroro by far. Shiroro has been operating for the last 26 years. And having done all this work, rehabilitating the plant, addressing issues on the civil infrastructure, improving our maintenance and our operational planning, we are actually able to produce more power. As you know, Shiroro produces hydroelectric power, and is the cheapest source of energy. The more hydropower that we generate, the less the retail customer has to pay for their energy.
We invited GE, we're working with GE to see how we can operate the rotors of the hydro plant. And in doing that, we plan to raise the 150 megawatts each, which is 600 for the 4 turbines. We plan to raise it from 150 megawatts to 180 megawatts. We carried out studies on how to improve the water inflow into the Shiroro Dam. Beyond that, we have also embarked on a 300 megawatts capacity solar plant. By 2020, we hope to have completed the 300 megawatts. And that way, we will have about 900 megawatts available in Shiroro, if not 1,000.
We have also looked at the possibility of the generation of power from gas. We have looked at the possibility of coal. It is, as you read from the very beginning, our objective to be a premier company, not only in Nigeria but the continent, regarding the generation of power in all its elements.